Good day, students. In this class, we shall be handling the short notes. Short note is an important part of our questions. And the trick is it will be covering a vast area wherein the student will be finding it difficult to comprehend or to cope up with. Hence, I feel that directly going to the questions will help us a lot. As I had always been mentioning, your IQ is equal to UQ. There shall be 3 questions covered in this session, and I hope I do not take much time for each. The questions are on the screen: Marfans, vegetations, and vasculitis. A very nice saying that we should always remember. Repeatedly, I will be bothering you with this. The question that we omit is our university question. And it is experience that has taught us this. The question that we omit is our university question. Okay, the first note for the day is vegetations. A very frequently asked question. And what exactly are we expected to write, or can we write as an answer to this short note? And it is a kind of MK, means must know. You must know the answer for this question. There is no compromise. As per the dictionary, the word vegetation literally means an aggregate of plants. An aggregate of plants. But in pathology, in the heart, during the process of edema, an inflammation results, and there is a deposition of fibrin finally. All these together constitute the vegetation. Edema, inflammation, fibrin together constitute the lesion called vegetation. It may be septic, that is infective, or bland. Septic or bland is one way of classifying the lesions. Septic or bland. Remember these words. Now 4 pictures are there. It will be difficult for us to remember each of these, but then the intention of this slide is only to show the difference between them. It has been taken from Robbins, let me confess, and it is a rheumatic heart disease. I am finding multiple vegetations which are small along the lines of closure. In infective endocarditis, there are huge friable vegetations overhanging the valve leaflets. Non-bacterial thrombotic endocarditis is smaller than infective but larger than rheumatic heart disease. And the last one is SLE. In SLE, what happens is the vegetation can be on either side of the valve leaflet. The first vegetation we shall take the rheumatic heart disease. In rheumatic heart disease, we had seen earlier also, the vegetations are formed during the phase of rheumatic fever. During the rheumatic fever itself, you find that the vegetations are there and they are multiple. They are firmly adherent. You can pass on the specimen without dislocating the vegetations. They are small and warty, hardly 1 to 2 millimeters in diameter. And they are found along the lines of closure of the valve leaflets. The common valves are the mitral and the aortic. They can occur in the other valves also. And sometimes they can occur in the caudate tendineae. So, the vegetations of the heart in rheumatic heart disease. Small, firm, 1 to 2 millimeters, multiple, found along the lines of closure of the valve leaflets. Infective endocarditis, on the contrary, I am not going into the etiology of it. The vegetations are large, they are bulky, they are friable, they get detached, and they overhang the edges of the valve leaflets or the valve cusps. And sometimes they extend on to the caudate tendineae. There can be a rupture of the caudate tendineae, which is denoted in this picture itself. You find that there is a rupture of these fibers. Apart from this, there can be a perforation of the myocardium, the cardiac wall, or the interventricular septum. These are some of the presentations. And one of the major complications of these vegetations will be the formation of septic emboli. Septic emboli. So large vegetations which are bulky, friable, overhanging the valve leaflets, extending onto the caudate tendineae, causing a rupture of the interventricular septum or the cardiac muscle itself, resulting in a septic embolus. So that is infective endocarditis. So look at this picture. The valve is almost totally deformed, devastated. So I'm not seeing the cusp, but I can see the reddish brown friable vegetation which are there, and they have almost destroyed the valves. These are all some adjectives that we can use. They are destructive in nature, friable, overhanging, and they are causing an incompetence of the valves. Another condition is non-bacterial thrombotic endocarditis. As the word itself, it is not an infection, non-bacterial thrombotic endocarditis. It occurs in many debilitating illnesses, such as metastatic cancer, severe cachexia, renal failure. In these conditions, you will be finding a non-bacterial thrombotic endocarditis. It can occur in hypercoagulable states. In some conditions, you find that there is an increased clot, disseminated intravascular coagulation. So you find that there can be the vegetations which are formed. They are smaller than the infective endocarditis. They can be multiple. And another cause can be trauma during catheterization. Cardiac catheterization can induce the formation of these vegetations. Rheumatic is 1 to 2 millimeters. Here it is larger. It can be up to 5 millimeters in size. And as we had seen in the first slide, these are bland and sterile. Bland and sterile occur along the lines of closure or even on the valve surfaces. The common valves are mentioned here, mitral and aortic. Even if you do not remember the valves in this sequence, it doesn't matter. Please do remember debilitating illnesses, hypercoagulable states, trauma or cardiac catheterization, size less than 5 millimeters, and they are bland and sterile. Please remember these points. The third one is Liebman-Sachs endocarditis. In Liebman-Sachs endocarditis, SLE, there can be vegetations. Again, they can be multiple. Here I am finding it on the upper surface. Here on the under surface of the valve leaflets also I am seeing. So they can occur on both sides. On one or both sides they can be. They are small to medium sized. Occur in a condition called SLE, systemic lupus erythematosus. An example of a sterile vegetation can affect other organs. SLE is an important university question. It will be affecting multiple organs, including the kidneys, so on and so forth. And in the peripheral blood, we can find a cell called the LE cell or the lupus erythematous cell. These, if time permits, we will be dealing at a different date. Look at this one. Again, there is a deformity, but in this, I'm finding that they are quite bland, relatively firm in addition. So these are the vegetations that we can see in the heart. A diagram, what do you see in this? There are some beaded lesions in this condition. You find here also along the margins of closure. You are finding that. So these are all vegetations that we commonly see in rheumatic heart disease. Compare this with the next slide. So the complications of the valve vegetations can be stenosis. Stenosis is narrowing of the valve, or it can lead to an incompetence. Incompetence is it closes, but then it is not complete. So there can be stenosis or incompetence. Usually both are found in a valve. There can be a fish mouth or a buttonhole stenosis in rheumatic heart disease. The perforation of the valve leaflets is common in infective endocarditis. There can be a rupture of the caudate tendinae, septic emboli. All these are found in infective endocarditis. So the complications of the vegetations. So this is a mitral valve that has been removed during surgery, and there is a picture of a vegetation. Now coming back to the summary of our class, what should we write? Definition, what are the various causes, morphology, complications, and diagram. What I had shown you people is a line diagram. Please draw. A student who draws always scores over. It is a dictum. Draw the diagrams and it is complete. This is another short note, namely vasculitis. Before I go into this topic, I would like to harp on this one. What does this N2K mean? N2K means nice to know. The first one we saw was must know. There is no compromise at all. Nice to know, fine. If you are a very good student and you want to score more marks, it is nice that we know these answers. And sometimes in order to judge you, they may ask. Personally, in my opinion, it is a postgraduate question. Unfortunately, it has been asked in undergraduate papers. And as I told you, the question that we omit is our question. Coming back to this one, vasculitis is otherwise called as arteritis or angiitis. These words are all interchangeably used. The mechanism, vasculitis is an inflammation of the blood vessel, and the mechanism itself can be immunological. Most of the cases are immunological. They can happen due to bacterial infections or some kind of toxins which affect the blood vessels. Irradiation, whenever there is a radiotherapy or a patient is accidentally exposed to radiation, vasculitis is a common complication. Immunological. So imagine these words alone, remember them. We need not go into the details of it. Please by heart this. These are things that we already know or will be learning it elsewhere. Arthur's phenomenon, it's a question for you. In this, there will be the circulating immune complexes. Circulating immune complexes. SLE, that is again a question in which we will be finding DNA, anti-DNA immune complexes. And in hepatitis, we can have hepatitis B antigen antibody complexes. And polyarteritis nodosa, there will be anti-neutrophil antibodies. So very important that we remember the names at least. Circulating immune complexes in Arthurs, DNA, anti-DNA in SLE, hepatitis B surface antigen antibody complexes, and then anti-neutrophil antibodies in polyarteritis. Just by heart this. And this is the tabular column. I would just expect you people to go through this. So polyarteritis nodosa, commonly we find a fibrinoid necrosis. Hypersensitivity angiitis, there can be necrotizing vasculitis. Temporal giant cell arteritis, we will be finding giant cells. Takayasu's disease, otherwise called pulseless disease, there is a granuloma. Venous granulomatosis, there can be necrotizing vasculitis. TAO or the Buerger's disease, you find that there can be thrombosis, gangrene of the extremity. And Kawasaki's disease, it is similar to polyarteritis nodosa. Just remember these conditions. Polyarteritis, hypersensitivity, temporal giant cell arteritis, Takayasu's disease, venous granulomatosis, Buerger's disease, and Kawasaki's. Repetition is the mother of knowledge. Just keep going through these repeatedly and it will be ingrained in your mind. Do not sit and memorize the tabular column. Polyarteritis nodosa, two organs are affected. This is the kidney here and it is showing multiple areas of hemorrhage. There is also an area of infarct. The white one is the infarct. Cutaneous vasculitis occurs in a number of conditions. I am not going to name the conditions, but you find that there can be minute areas of bleeding, petechiae, purpura, etc. can be seen. Cutaneous vasculitis. So vasculitis, again, it is an important question. In the sense, a lot of MCQs can be asked, but still you need not memorize it to the extent of agitations. An Arthur's phenomenon, this is a definite university question, generally asked in general pathology. So you find that these are the antigens, there are the antibodies, and then you find there will be the complexes which are formed. See the combination, there is attraction of the neutrophils leading to tissue damage. Arthur's phenomenon. For now, we'll remember only the word Arthur's phenomenon. You need not go into the details of it, but it is important. In hepatitis also similarly, there will be the antigens and the antibody. They form complexes and these get deposited in the tissues, leading to an occlusion of the vascular lumen, and then there can be a damage to the vessel wall causing an aneurysm, vasculitis, etc. So hepatitis, these are the things. So there is an implantation and it leads to reactions. And this is a very nice diagram. I would like you people to draw this alone. There is an endothelium, rupture of the endothelium, antigen antibody, neutrophils. Nothing more is needed and there is area of fibrinoid necrosis. What should I write? What is the definition of vasculitis? What are the causes? What is the pathogenesis? Mainly antigen antibody complexes. Tabular column, you will be able to recall some diseases. And what are the lesions that you can see? Diagram. When I say diagram, this particular diagram is more than enough. The last short note for the day. As I told you, we are all racing against time. That is why. So there are 3 short notes for today, and this is the third one. Marfan syndrome. D2K. D2K means desirable to know. It is reasonably important. It is a university question. It is a case for you in medicine again. The definition. Marfan syndrome is an autosomal dominant connective tissue disorder that affects the cardiovascular system, musculoskeletal system, and the eye. Marfan syndrome is an autosomal dominant connective tissue disorder with defects in the cardiovascular system, musculoskeletal, and the eye. And this is a very famous personality you people should be knowing. Many people had been suffering or rather been having this Marfan syndrome. We'll see region by region. One is a musculoskeletal. Musculoskeletal, these are the spate of findings in it. The patient has an increased height. There is an increased arm span, When he spreads his hands, it goes to a long distance. That is called arm span. Arachnodactyly are long fingers called as spider's fingers. Rule of the thumb. That is what you people are seeing over here. Normally, when we try to encircle our wrist with a little finger and thumb, it will be difficult. This patient does it effortlessly. Hyperextension of the digits. They can bend the fingers backwards. Flat foot because of the laxity of the ligaments. Ask the patient to wet his feet and walk. You will not be able to see the aortic arch. Kyphoscoliosis, prolapse of the disc, pectus excavatum, and high arched palate. So these things we shall and will remember. Easy for you people. Increased height, arm span, arachnodactyly, long fingers leading to rule of the thumb, hyperextension of the digits, flat foot, kyphoscoliosis, prolapse of the IV disc, pectus excavatum, and high arched palate. So look at this one. There is an increased height. There is a slight bend over here, a kyphoscoliosis. In this case, I find that there is a caving in called as a pectus excavatum. The other features, that can be prognathism, there can be a high arched palate. A lot of these findings can be there can be seen in Marfan syndrome. And this is the rule of the thumb. You try to encircle it, you find that there will be the thumb is longer and it protrudes outside the closed hand. So kyphoscoliosis, pectus, and the rule of the thumb. The other organ or the organ system will be the cardiovascular system. In the cardiovascular system, the main thing will be the dissecting aneurysm. Remember, this is a short note that we are dealing with. In case you have got a lot of time, you can draw a line diagram of the dissecting aneurysm. Aortic incompetence is again a common feature. Third one will be the floppy mitral valve syndrome. What is this floppy mitral valve? Normally, the purpose of any valve is to close and to prevent a backflow of fluid. That is the purpose of a valve. But in this patient, the mitral valve, it not only closes, it goes into the atrium as well, as a result of which the closure is incomplete and the blood spinges on to the left atrium also. This is called the mitral valve syndrome. Cardiovascular system, 3 findings: dissecting aneurysm, aortic incompetence, and the floppy mitral valve syndrome. Eye, again, weakness of the muscles or the ligaments leads to ectopia lentis or subluxation of the lens. You find that the lens is going out of place. This diagram can be drawn. And this is an actual picture. You find that the lens is totally out of field. Another complication can be the glaucoma, ectopia lentis and glaucoma. So these are the complications that we people can see in the Marfan syndrome. And what is the basic pathogenesis? In this condition, there is a defect in the conversion of co-collagen to collagen. Defect in the conversion of co-collagen to collagen. And there is a defect in the extracellular glycoprotein called fibrillin 1. Fibrillin 1 is defective in the case of Marfan syndrome. Such things can be asked as an MCQ. And a summary of it: fibrillin 1 is defective, and these are the changes: ectopia lentis, glaucoma, kyphoscoliosis, pectus excavatum, carinatum, arachnodactyly or the long fingers, aortic regurgitation, aneurysm. Some patients do develop an angina as well. Floppy mitral valve is there, and then there is an aortic dissection. So these are the manifestations of. So this is a famous personality, and then he found his way into the Hollywood. because of his increased span. Obviously, you can appreciate the length of his hands and arms. Javier Botet. You can go to the net and find out the famous personalities. For now, we shall be recalling the definition of Marfan's, what is the basic pathology, changes in musculoskeletal, cardiovascular, and the eye, dissecting aneurysm. If time permits, you will have to. Even otherwise, it's a question. A couple of diagrams. Maybe ectopia lentis and a dissection can be included. And as a matter of principle, let us always have diagrams. Without diagrams, consider your answer as incomplete. This has got nothing to do with today's class. I'm showing some blood vessels. There is a cup of lymphocytes. Cup of lymphocytes. Some of them are becoming narrowed down. We call it as obliterative endarteritis. One. Secondly, I find that there is an infection which is spreading along the common iliac nodes, then the para-aortic group of nodes. This picture shows only this. What is your diagnosis? Something that we have dealt with until now. Good. It is obliterative endarteritis, para-aortic group of nodes, common in cardiovascular syphilis. Recollect the bark of a tree, aortic incompetence, so on and so forth. Efkaristo.